Lot escapes Sodom. Long, long ago, in a time when the nights were very deep and the stars seemed much closer to the earth, there lived a man named Lot. He was the nephew of the great patriarch Abraham, a man of gentle ways, quiet faith, and a heart always open to strangers. Lot had made his home in the city of Sodom, a grand and busy place that rose at the edge of a wide and fertile plain. It looked, by every measure, like a beautiful city, green and lush, with wide streets and the constant warm hum of human life. But beneath that beauty, something had gone terribly wrong. Wickedness had taken root the way weeds take root in cracked stone, slowly, quietly, and then all at once. The cries of those who suffered had risen like smoke until they reached the very gates of heaven. And heaven, at last, had sent a reply. One warm golden evening, two strangers appeared at the gates of Sodom. They looked like ordinary travelers, road-weary and dusty. But Lot, sitting quietly at the city gate, rose the moment he saw them. Something stirred deep within his chest. He walked toward them and bowed low. "Please," he said warmly, "come to my house. Rest, wash your feet, and I will prepare a meal." They declined at first, but Lot pressed them with such genuine kindness that they relented and followed him home. Inside, he baked fresh bread and set a humble table. The lamplight glowed soft and low. It was peaceful and quiet, and for a little while the darkness outside felt very far away. But the peace did not last. As the city grew dark and restless, the men of Sodom gathered outside his door, voices loud, intentions dangerous, demanding the visitors be handed over. Lot stepped outside and pleaded. They pressed closer. Then the strangers reached out and pulled Lot safely back through the door. They were not ordinary men at all. They were angels, sent from the Most High. They struck the crowd outside with blindness, so that the men of Sodom stumbled and groped in the dark, unable to find the very door they had been pounding on moments before. In the strange stillness that followed, the angels spoke clearly. "Lot," they said, "we have been sent to destroy this city. Its wickedness has grown too great and its cries have reached heaven. Take your wife, your daughters, and anyone who belongs to you, and leave before morning. When the sun rises, this place will be no more." Lot hurried into the night and found the young men pledged to his daughters, shaking them awake. But they only smiled. It seemed like a strange dream to them. They went back to sleep. And Lot walked home alone, sat beside the lamp, and waited for the sky to change. As the first threads of dawn began weaving across the darkness, the angels grew urgent. "Rise," they said. "Take your wife and daughters and go now, or you will be swept away with the city." But Lot lingered. It is one of the most human moments in all of Scripture, that even when an angel tells you to run, your feet do not always obey. The city was his home. His whole life had been built here, year by year. And so he stood at the threshold, caught between everything familiar and the unknown road beyond the gate. Then the angels reached out, gently and firmly, and took Lot by the hand. They took his wife and daughters by the hand too, and they walked them all out, through the door, through the street, through the gate, past the last sleeping house, and onto the open road. Scripture says this happened because the Lord was merciful. When Lot could not move, mercy moved for him. Once they stood on the open road, the angel spoke. "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you. Do not stop on the plain. Flee to the mountains." Lot looked toward the distant mountains and felt the weight of the journey. Humbly he asked if they might flee instead to a small nearby city called Zor. "It is such a small place," he said softly. "Surely it can be spared." The angel listened and quietly agreed. "Very well. Go there quickly, for I cannot act until you are safely inside." And so they walked, Lot, his wife, and his two daughters, moving quickly through the pale gray morning, footsteps soft on the dusty road. Sodom rose dark behind them. Zor grew slowly closer ahead. The world around them was perfectly still, the way the world is in those last quiet minutes before sunrise, when everything seems to be holding its breath. The sun broke fully over the horizon at the very moment Lot stepped through the gates of Zoar. And at that instant, the sky behind them tore open. Fire and brimstone poured down from heaven upon Sodom and Gomorrah and all the cities of the plain. The ground shook. The air thickened with smoke and ash. Everything that had stood there, every wall, every street, every garden, was overturned and consumed. Where a great city had hummed with life just hours before, there was now only silence and ruin and the slow rolling of dark smoke across a broken plain. But Lot's wife, walking just behind him, turned to look back. We are never told why. Perhaps it was grief. Perhaps it was the pull of home, the way a life once lived calls after you even when you know you must go. Whatever drew her eyes backward, she turned. And she became a pillar of salt, standing still and silent on the plain, forever facing the city she could not leave. It is one of the most haunting images in all of Scripture, a soul frozen at the very edge of salvation, a tender reminder that mercy asks only one thing of us: do not look back. Far away on the high ground, Abraham rose early and looked out over the plain. Where the cities had been, he saw only thick dark smoke rising slowly into the morning sky, like the smoke of a great furnace. But in his heart he knew God had remembered his prayer. In the midst of the great destruction, he had led Lot out. And so Lot came through the long and frightening night, through fire and ash and fear, and into the bright open stillness of a new morning. Everything familiar was gone. But he was alive. His daughters were alive. The mercy of God had gone before them every step of the way, even when Lot lingered, even when he was afraid, even when his feet refused to move. And perhaps that is the most tender thing in this ancient story. Not the fire, not the judgment, but the quiet image of two angels in the gray light before dawn, taking a frightened man gently by the hand, and walking with him, patient and full of mercy, out into the morning light.